Untitled 64 presents a Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey there, welcome to another Lemon 64 Play Guide and Review. In this week's show, we'll be checking out Chomp, developed by Robert T. Bonifacio and developed and published by Cosme in 1989. Cracked game, it comes with a cracked intro or two, and the music in that intro is actually better than the game itself. Moving on from those cracked intros, we get to see the title picture of Chomp, and that gives away the fact that we'll be fighting sharks and birds in later scenarios. Unfortunately, we won't get to see any of those in this particular playthrough. Life in a very small pond may seem easy. All we have to do is to gobble up all the munchies that have been left for us, and then we can get nice and big and fat. And you can see some pond life floating around, and all I need to do is to guide our little fish towards those. Our fish has one party piece, and that is he can jump out of his home into the next one. And if we scroll across, we can see the next home is full of life, and so, well, it isn't easy to launch ourselves, but if we push upwards and hold down that fire button, we can launch ourselves out of this tank. Unfortunately for us, well, if we're facing the wrong way, it will catch us in that tank, in that bowl, which we seem to be in at the moment. But if we are facing the right way, hopefully we can jump out, but we are a small minnow, and those other fish can actually gobble us up. So sometimes we'll need to be fed before we even attempt that maneuver. All we have to do is to line those little bits up with our mouth, and our mouth has to be open before we can catch those. And of course, now we've eaten everything in that tank, let's move on to the next one. Eaten enough, we will increase in size, and if we are about to decrease in size, we will flash blue, and that means that we need to eat something pretty quickly. And at this stage, I apologise for the screen glitches. I think that was something to do with my computer, and there are only a few cracks of this available on the CSDB. Just when you thought our tank was nice and safe, yes, something throws a spanner in the works in the form of a cat, and the cat will try to get us from now on. You saw the screen flashed red when that will appear, and from now on we'll have to avoid the cat's paw and time that if we go anywhere near the top of that tank. unfortunately we've managed to starve ourselves thin again, and that's not really handy with all these fish flying around. If you meet a fish that is smaller than yourself, obviously that's no problem, and one the same size might take a nibble out of our skin, but if it's larger then you might get swallowed by that larger fish. And obviously the objective of the game is to fly around that tank, swallowing as much as possible and trying to get as large as possible, and then you can dive across and take on some of those combatants, and hopefully we can grow in size. Just when we thought it was safe to nibble on those critters, unfortunately we have 3 lives in this game, and that means that we still have 1 plus the one we are using at the moment. Unfortunately the cat has been alerted, so that means that we'll have to get on with it and try to dive out of there before it catches up with us and we end up losing another life. I actually really love the graphics and the animations, and anybody who wanted to run their own live fish tank, well, this is a great game to try and to play, and the only thing is you'll have to align those things up when the mouth is open and take your chances in the open world. It's dog eat dog and fish eat fish in this game, and you have to be a certain size to survive, otherwise those bullies will reduce our size and unfortunately they will eat us given half the chance. You may notice the other fish are in the same predicament as we are, and if we capture all their food sometimes we can starve them to death, and that's a tactic you can try, and you have to avoid everything of course, and if we are the same size as them then that's absolutely no problem. We can virtually drift around without fear of getting killed, except for that cat of course, who will try its best to block off the top section of our territory. Little tank creatures will continually respawn, so if we hang around the same respawn point, that's sometimes an easy way to build up like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and to take on this game we'll certainly have to be Rambo to beat our way through the other competitors. You can see we have 379 points at the moment, and this little pond skater, or whatever it is, sometimes they are pretty difficult to eat, and they will only give us a bit of a nibble, which will maintain our current size. Perhaps the worst part of this game is the terrible music, and that will change if we increase our size. Later on we'll need to be the size of a shark to take on a shark, and we'll have to avoid birds and other things will try to kill us, but for now it's the art of trying to survive, and you saw that we ate another fish. That's one way to do it, and the aim of the game is to eat all the other fish in all the tanks. And this is the second tank that we're in at the moment. There is actually a third tank which is full of more fish, and it looks like that we have starved to death the fish in this tank, so maybe we can check out the third. We do get a high score table, and you can see quite a lot of entries, and we can keep rank of our score. It even accounts for the level 1.1, basically the very first level, and then there is no title screen and no more loading. We just go all the way back to the start to try that again. And sometimes we can try to be brave directly from the start, but if we try to enter that tank, we'll get eaten, and those big fish really do pack a punch. This game was developed by Robert T. Bonifacio for Cosme, and he also did Richard Petty's Talladega and other games that you may remember. And well, this is one of the 4 games that he wrote on the Commodore 64. I think it's a novel idea that we go around eating other fish and try to be the biggest in the pond, and this appeals to a very vast range of people, of course, and it's great to see something which is novel and unique, for something that you don't really get these days. And then that brings me on to the scores. Well, 22% was given by C&VG on its original release in March 1990, and the current Lemon score is 77%, which gives this an average score of 4.5 out of 10. If we are the biggest fish in the pond, then the music will change, and that will indicate that we are the biggest. That means that we can go for everything else except for the other big fish, and you can starve those to death, or you can simply jump into the next tank, and hopefully they'll have shrunk in size by the time you return. Unfortunately, there are only 3 tanks, and the last tank is dead end, so if you fall into that trap you will die, and I died with only 2 fish remaining on that first level. That's how you play the game, and once again thank you for joining me on another play guide and review to another game. I hope you'll check this out and get further than I did, and chomp your way through the wildlife. And so, thank you once again. I hope to see you again in another play guide sometime soon.